My son called. His wife had just had a baby, my daughter. I was out working and told him I'd be there as soon as I could. When I finally got to their house, there was no baby. Where is she? My son didn't look at me. We gave her up for adoption. I looked at him. What are you talking about? She's dead. We can't heal a broken child. They threw away their 5-year-old daughter because she couldn't hear. I asked her where she was. Which agency? I would take her myself. The record books are closed. You have no rights. They assured me I'd never find her. My daughter was out there alone. It was forbidden to be dead. So I decided I would learn her language, so that when I found her, the first thing she would see would be someone who had spent years preparing to understand her, to tell her that she was willing, that she always had been. My son thought the story ended that day. It was just the beginning. My name is Nancy, and this is my story. Before we continue, please leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and subscribe to the Never Too Old channel. We're building a community of people who know that our best moments can happen at any time. Now, back to the story. The phone rang while I was delivering my keynote speech at the Hotel Business Center in Berlin 3 days before I was scheduled to speak at the European CEO conference. Mom, it's happening. Vanessa is working. Christopher's voice came through, excited and breathless. I closed my laptop. Right now, we're in the hospital. They say it'll be a few more hours. You have a daughter, Mother. My breasts have tightened in a way I haven't felt since my husband died. A daughter. I'm going on a plane. Don't you have that conference thing? Christopher, you have a baby. I know. But you're the keynote speaker, right? That's a big deal. Come later. She'll still be here. I watched my presentation on the screen. 200 people have joined. Contact details are in. The organizers had been planning this for months. I'll be there as soon as I can. 4 days at most. Tell Vanessa I'm coming. She'll be happy. I love you, Mother. He hanged himself. I sat there looking at the phone. One daughter. Christopher and Vanessa lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, in a house their parents had given them. Old money. Old families. I lived in London to manage my last few wives' owners, visiting them maybe once a year in Connecticut. This baby would change that. I would be there. I would be the kind of grandmother who gets up. I gave my keynote 3 days later, flew from Berlin in the afternoon, landed at JFK the next morning, and drove straight onto I-95 in a rental car. I stopped at a boutique in Westport and bought a silver wheel, a cashmere blanket, and a lambskin. Probably too much. I had no idea. Her house was on Rundhill Street, behind old buildings and perfect houses, white colonial, black switches. I'd just turned around at night, grabbed my presents, and gone to the door. Christopher answered before I could crack the lock. He looked terrible, disappointed in a way that was wrong for a new father. Mother, let me see her. Where is she? He backed down, but didn't move. Come in. We need to talk first. The words fell flat. Vanessa peered behind him, wearing a white linen suit and a silver wheel. No baby in her arms, no lace on her shoulder, no disappointment on her face. Hello, Nancy. They drove me to the formal apartment, the one with the old settee and Vanessa's grandmother's portrait on the wall, not the kind of family apartment with basic amenities where you'd keep a child. I stopped. Where's the baby? Christopher was sitting. Vanessa sat beside him, her hands trailing. Sit, Mother. I don't want to sit. I want to meet my grandmother. He looked at his hands. Vanessa looked at me. We put her up for adoption, she said. The room went quiet. I heard those words, but they wouldn't settle. What are you talking about? The baby, Christopher said. We gave it to her. It's already finished. I put the gift in the hallway. The house was too quiet. No crying, no bassinet, no baby sounds anywhere. You called me from the hospital 4 days ago. I know. You told me you had a daughter. We had a daughter. Vanessa's voice came out flat. And we made the best decision for our family. Where is she? Christopher finally looked up. She's with an agency. They'll introduce her when they find the right family. I'm the right family. Tell me which agency. And I'm going to see her now. Vanessa hit her head. It's a closed adoption. We don't have to reveal that information. How old is she? She was born 5 days ago, Christopher said quietly. My daughter was 5 days old, and they've already given her away while I'm crossing an ocean to meet her. Why? Vanessa argued. She is quiet. The hospital issued a hearing request before the removal. She missed it. They tested it again. I looked at it. It's quiet. Yes, and you gave her away because she's quiet. We're not equipped to treat a troubled child, Nancy. Be realistic. The specialists, the therapy, time. My family would not accept a child with special needs in the family line. The word special needs hung in the air between us. I shook my hands. I pressed them flat against my legs. Tell me where she is. Which agency? I'll adopt her myself. You can't. Christopher stood up. We've already checked with lawyers. Grandparents have no legal standing in adoption cases. The devices protect the daycare centers. The record stores are closed. They've verified it. They investigated. They made sure I couldn't stop them. If you could throw away your own child, I said, then you're not the son I raised. Christopher's face hardened. Then maybe you don't know me at all. You live in London. You visit once a year. You don't hop on a plane and tell us how to live our lives. Christopher. Vanessa hit his arm, but he pulled her away. It's over, Mom. She's gone. You have to accept that. I've caught up on the gift thing. The rat turned around inside. I will never accept it. I left. I was on a rental drive. I drove until I saw a Marriott on the highway and went in. The room had white walls and a picture of a lighthouse. I sat on the bed in my umbrella. Then I lay down. Then I screamed until my ribs hurt. Somewhere in Connecticut, my daughter was with strangers. No one loved her. No one wanted her. I screamed until my head was cracked. Then I stopped and looked at the stair chair. Christopher was right about the law. I was in no mood. I had no rights. The agency wouldn't tell me anything. The courts wouldn't help me. But I had money. I had time. And I wasn't in Connecticut without leaving her. I sat up and called my office manager in London. Petra, I need you to handle things remotely for a while. I'm staying in the States. How long? I don't know yet. I hung up and opened my laptop, searched for private investigators in Connecticut, found one with good reviews and sent a consultation request. Then I searched for sign language classes. American Sign Language, the language deaf people use here. I found a beginner course starting next week at the library on West Putnam Avenue, registered and paid online. It was past midnight when I finally changed clothes and brushed my teeth, looking at myself in the bathroom mirror. 54 years old, jet-lagged, eyes swollen. I didn't look like someone about to search for a child for years, but I would. However, it took a long time. However, it costs a lot. I'd learned to sign so that when I found her, I could tell her in her own language that I'd never stop looking. I turned off the light. The next morning, I found an apartment on Riverside Avenue and signed a year lease. Bought a map of Connecticut at a bookstore and pinned it to the bedroom wall. Found push pins at the office supply store. I stuck the first pin in Greenwich, where she was born, where they gave her away. Tomorrow I'd add more pins, wherever the investigator told me to look, however many it took. I was bringing my granddaughter home. The sign language class meets Tuesday and Thursday evenings at the Greenwich Library. 6 months after I'd pinned that first marker on my wall. I sat in a circle with 12 other students trying to make my fingers spell the alphabet. My hands wouldn't cooperate. The teacher, a deaf woman named Carol, demonstrated again. Her fingers moved smoothly and quickly. Mine fumbled over the letter G. Couldn't hold the shape for H. Practice, she signed. Every day. Muscle memory. I practiced in my car, in the grocery store line, before bed. My hands cramped. I mixed up B and F constantly. The private investigator I'd quit after 8 months. Said the trail was too cold, the records too sealed. I thanked him and hired another one, kept going to class twice a week. After the first year, I could hold basic conversations. My grammar was wrong half the time, but I could ask questions, understand simple answers. I started attending deaf community events at Stanford, coffee meetups at a cafe on Summer Street, a book club that meets monthly. People were polite but cautious, a hearing woman showing up, asking questions about adoption, about deaf children. Some thought I was a social worker, others just kept their distance. But I kept showing up, learned to respect when someone preferred to sign rather than speak, learned not to touch people to get their attention. Learned that deaf culture had rules and history I needed to understand, not just a language to memorize. Eventually, a woman named Rita started talking to me. She taught at a deaf school in Hartford. Over coffee one afternoon, I told her about my granddaughter. They gave her up because she was deaf, I said, signing as I spoke. I've been looking ever since. Rita watched my hands, my face. How long? 2 years now, and you learned sign language for a baby you've never met. So I'd be ready when I found her, she said slowly. I'll ask around. Deaf schools, programs. Someone might remember something. But nobody did. Not that year. Not the next. I drove to every adoption agency within 200 miles, showed them the few details I had. A baby girl born in Greenwich, given up at 5 days old, deaf. Most wouldn't talk to me. Privacy laws, sealed records, some were kind about it. Others just pointed to the door. I visited orphanages in Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, walked through common rooms looking at children's faces, wondering if any of them could be her, asked administrators about deaf girls, about records from years ago, hit dead ends everywhere. My second investigator found nothing. I hired a third. 5 years in, I'd been to over 200 facilities. I was 59. My sign language was fluent now. Though fast signers still lost me sometimes, I knew people in the deaf community across 3 states. They knew my story. Some helped when they could. Others thought I was chasing something impossible. One afternoon, I sat in my car outside an orphanage in Albany. Another dead end. I put my head on the steering wheel and cried. She'd be 5 years old now, walking, talking in whatever language she'd learned. Maybe she'd been adopted by a good family. Maybe she was happy. Maybe I should stop. But I couldn't, not knowing where she was, who she was with, if anyone was signing to her, not knowing if she ever wondered about the grandmother who'd tried to find her. I wiped my face and started the car. The deaf community started calling me the grandmother who never stopped looking. Some said it with admiration. Others said it like I was obsessed. Maybe I was. 10 years after I'd stuck that first pin in my map, I had hundreds of pins. Red for agencies I'd contacted, blue for orphanages I'd visited, green for deaf schools I'd checked. My apartment walls were covered with maps and lists and notes. I was 62. My hair had gone mostly gray. My knees hurt from all the driving, all the walking through facilities. But I wasn't stopping. Then, on a Tuesday morning in March, my phone ranked. Is this Nancy, the woman looking for her granddaughter? The caller was a social worker named Jennifer. She worked at an orphanage in Richmond, Virginia. Someone in the deaf community had mentioned my search. I think I might know who you're looking for, she said. There's a girl here. She's been with us since she was an infant. She's deaf. She's 12 now. Nobody's ever adopted her. My hands went numb. 12, the right age. What's her name? We call her Ellen, but that might not be her birth name. Her records are sparse. I was already grabbing my keys. I'm coming. I can be there in 6 hours. I'll be here until 5. I drove straight through, stopped once for gas and coffee. My heart wouldn't slow down. This could be another dead end. I'd had calls like this before, leads that went nowhere, but something felt different. The orphanage sat on a quiet street in Richmond, a converted Victorian with a playground out back. Jennifer met me at the door. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 30, with tired eyes. She's outside, Jennifer said. Recreation time. I haven't told her you're here. Didn't want to get her hopes up. We walked through the building, past bedrooms and a cafeteria and a room full of donated toys, through a back door to the playground. There, Jennifer said, pointing. A girl sat alone on a bench near the fence. Small for 12, dark hair pulled back, hunched shoulders. While other kids played basketball and climbed on equipment, she sat separately. "She does that," Jennifer said quietly. "Keeps to yourself. She's been passed over so many times. Families come, they meet the kids, they choose someone else. After a while, I think she stopped hoping. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe right. Can I talk to her?" "Go ahead." I walked across the playground. The girl didn't look up until I was close. Then she glanced at me quickly and looked away, the way you do when you're used to being invisible. I sat on the bench and signed. "Hello, my name is Nancy." Her head came up fast, shock in her eyes. Adults didn't usually sign here. She signed back slowly, uncertainly. "I'm Ellen." Her signing was basic, limited vocabulary, like someone who'd learned the minimum and never gotten to use it much. "Can I sit with you for a minute?" She refused. We sat quiet for a moment. I watched her hands, her face. Then I noticed it. On her left shoulder, visible where her t-shirt collar had shifted, a small birthmark, shaped like a comma. Christopher had the same mark in the same place. My throat closed up. "Ellen, can I ask you some questions? About where you're from?" She shrugged, signed, "Don't know much, been here always?" "Always, since baby." I looked back at the building where Jennifer stood watching, then back to Ellen. "I need to go talk to someone inside, but I'm coming right back. Will you wait here?" She denied, that same empty expression, like she'd learned not to expect anything. I walked back to Jennifer on shaking legs. "I need to see her records, everything you have." Inside, Jennifer pulled a thin file. "Born in Connecticut, placed at 4 days old through a private agency, arrived at this facility at 6 months when the agency's temporary foster care fell through. Deaf, confirmed, no family contact, no adoption interest. The timeline fits, the location fits, the birthmark fit. I need a DNA test," I said. "I think she's my granddaughter." Jennifer's eyes widened. "Are you serious? I've been looking for 12 years. I need to know for certain." It took 3 days to arrange through lawyers. 3 days where I drove back to Richmond every morning and sat with Ellen. We signed to each other. Simple conversations. She asked if I lived nearby. I told her I lived far away, but I'd traveled a long time to meet her. "Why?" she signed. "Because I've been looking for someone," I signed back. "Someone very important." The DNA results came back on a Friday. I was in my lawyer's office in Greenwich when he opened the envelope. 99.7% match, he said. "She's your biological granddaughter." I put my face in my hands and sobbed. 12 years. 12 years of searching and driving and asking and hoping and nearly giving up. And I'd found her. The adoption process moved faster this time. I had money, a stable home, no red flags. Ellen's caseworker supported it. The orphanage supported it. Within 3 months, we were standing in a Virginia courthouse. The judge looked at Ellen. "Do you understand what's happening today?" Ellen signed, and the interpreter spoke. "Nancy's adopting me. I get to leave here. How do you feel about that?" Ellen looked at me, then signed, "Good." The judge smiled and signed the papers. We flew to London the next week. Ellen sat by the window watching clouds. I'd signed to her about the fresh start we'd have, about the flat in London, about how I'd promised I'd keep her safe, and I meant it. She refused, then signed. "Why did you look so long?" I took her hand and signed back. "Because you're my granddaughter, and I never stop looking for family." She then cried. So did I. The plane lifted off and Ellen leaned against my shoulder. After 12 years in an orphanage, after a lifetime of being passed over, she was finally coming home. The London flat felt too big at first. Ellen stood in the doorway of her bedroom and wouldn't go in, just stared at the bed. The desk? The window overlooks the street. "It's yours," I signed. "Your room." She nodded, but didn't move. That first month, she barely looked at me, kept her eyes down, flinched when I moved too quickly. At dinner, she ate almost like someone might take the plate away. In the mornings, she'd be awake before me, sitting on her bed fully dressed, waiting. I'd hired a deaf consultant before we arrived. A woman named Miriam, who helped me retrofit the flat. Visual doorbell that flashes lights, smoke alarms that strobe, better lighting in every room so Ellen could see faces clearly. But the physical changes were easier than the rest of it. Ellen's sign language was basic, functional. The orphanage had taught her enough to get by, but not enough to really communicate. My signing was fluent after all those years of practice, but hers had gaps everywhere. We'd start a conversation, and she'd freeze, not knowing the signs she needed. I'd fingerspell words, she'd nod, but I could see the frustration. 3 weeks in, she signed thank you after dinner. Unprompted, just looked at me and signed it. I had to leave the room so she wouldn't see me cry. The second month, I enrolled her at a school for deaf students in North London. Therapy twice a week with a counselor who specializes in adoption trauma. Ellen went to both without complaint. Came home tired and quiet. The other deaf students tried to include her. I'd watch during pickup, see them signing to her, inviting her to sit with them. She'd shake her head, sit alone. Her teacher pulled me aside one afternoon. She's struggling socially. The other students don't understand why she won't engage. She spent 12 years being rejected, I said. She doesn't trust it yet. The teacher responded. We'll keep trying. I made mistakes, lots of them. I'd talk while signing, mixing English and sign language structure. One evening, Ellen's teacher called me. You need to sign pure American Sign Language at home, she said gently. Not SimCom, not English on your lips while you sign. Ellen needs full language immersion to catch up. I felt like I'd failed. I didn't know. Now you do. It's fixable. So I stopped speaking when I signed. It felt awkward at first, unnatural. But Ellen's comprehension improved within weeks. 6 months in. Ellen had a meltdown over math homework. She screamed. Actually screamed out loud, which started me because I'd never heard her voice before. Then she threw her textbook across the room. Throw her pencil case, swipe everything off the desk. I didn't know what to do, stood frozen in the doorway while she sobbed, loud and guttural. Then I sat on the floor and signed, I'm here, I'm not leaving, you're safe. She collapsed next to me. I held her while she cried. Her whole body shook. Later, her therapist explained it. Ellen's fear of abandonment runs deep. Any correction, any criticism felt like rejection, like she was about to be sent away again. It's going to take time, the therapist said. Be patient, be consistent. By the end of that first year, things started shifting. Ellen made a friend, another deaf girl named Sophie who wouldn't take no for an answer. Sophie just kept sitting with Ellen at lunch until Ellen finally started signing back. I learned visual parenting strategies. Get Ellen's attention before starting a conversation. Use clear facial expressions. Don't stand with my back to windows where light would shadow my face and make lip reading harder. Ellen's education had massive gaps. She could read at maybe a second grade level. Math was worse. The orphanage had given her minimal schooling. I hired a deaf tutor, a university student named James who used pure sign language. Ellen responded to him better than she'd responded to any hearing teacher. Slowly, she started catching up. The second year, Ellen joined the school's drama club. They performed stories in sign language, poetry, narratives. I went to every rehearsal, every performance, watched Ellen on stage using her hands to paint pictures in the air. I learned more about deaf culture from watching her. The beauty of it, the history, the community. This wasn't a disability. It was a language, a culture, a whole world I'd spent years learning about and was only now really seeing. One evening, Ellen asked me to tell her about the search, how I'd found her. We sat in the living room and I told her everything. The phone call from Christopher, the betrayal, the first pin on my map, 12 years of driving and asking and nearly giving up. Ellen cried, signed, You didn't give up on me? Never, I signed back. Not for one day. Why? Because you're my granddaughter. Because you mattered. Because they were wrong about you. She leaned against me. I thought something was wrong with me. All those years. Every family that came and left. I thought I was broken. You were never broken. By the third year, Ellen was thriving. 15 years old and confident in ways I'd never imagined that scared 12-year-old could be. She performed in a regional sign language poetry competition. Didn't win, but didn't care. Just loved being on stage. I'd become part of a community of deaf parents in London, went to meetups, advocacy events, learned more every week about accessibility, about rights, about fighting systems that tried to diminish deaf people. One night, Ellen asked about her biological parents. We were making dinner together. She stopped chopping vegetables and signed, "Why did they really give me up?" I'd known this question would come eventually. I put down my knife. "Because you're deaf," I signed honestly. They thought that made you damaged. They were wrong, but that's what they believed. Do you think they regret it? I don't know. I haven't spoken to them since. Ellen slowly agreed, then signed. Their loss. I have you. My throat closed up. I have you too. The fourth year arrived faster than I expected. Ellen turned 16. We talked about her future, university, maybe. She wanted to study deaf education, help other deaf kids who'd grown up feeling like she had. You'd be amazing at that. I signed. You think so? I know so. Then, on a Tuesday morning, an email arrived from an address I hadn't seen in 16 years. Christopher's name in my inbox made my stomach drop. I stared at it for a full minute before clicking. The subject line said, "Family." My hand shook on the mouse. Mom, I know we haven't spoken in 16 years. I know what happened was unforgivable. I've thought about it every day. I've thought about you every day. I don't expect you to respond to this. But I need to tell you something. Vanessa and I adopted a son. His name is Gabriel. He's 18 now. A good kid. Better than I deserve. He's starting college and he asked about you. Asked if he had a grandmother. I told him yes, but that we'd had a falling out. He wants to meet you. I know I have no right to ask. I know I don't deserve your time or your forgiveness. But Gabriel does. He didn't do anything wrong. He deserves to know his grandmother if you're willing. If you want to meet him, I'll make it happen. Whatever you need. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything. Christopher. I read it 3 times. Then I closed the laptop and walked to the window. A grandson. Christopher had adopted a son. After throwing Ellen away because she was deaf, he'd gone and adopted a boy. Kept him, raised him for 18 years. The anger hit first. Hot and sharp. They'd decided Ellen was too damaged to love, but another child was fine. A chosen child was acceptable? Then confusion. Why now? Why reach out after 16 years of silence? Then something else. Curiosity, maybe. This boy, Gabriel. 18 years old. He'd asked about me, wanted to meet me. I didn't know what to feel. Ellen came home from school an hour later, found me still standing at the window. She signed. What's wrong? I got my laptop and showed her the email, watched her face as she read. Her expression went carefully blank. When she finished, she looked up at me. A grandson. I didn't know. I signed. He never told me. They adopted him. Yes. Ellen was quiet for a long moment, then signed. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to delete it and pretend I never saw it. Part of me keeps thinking about this boy who didn't do anything wrong. He's adopted, Ellen signed. Like me. I know. Do you want to meet him? I sat down on the couch. Maybe. Is that wrong? Ellen sat next to me. It's not wrong. He's your grandson. That's how you are. I know, but he doesn't know I exist, and he's asking about you. She paused. Signed carefully. If you want to go, I'll come with you. I looked at her. Ellen, I can't ask you to face them. You're not asking, I'm offering. You shouldn't have to do this alone. They're the people who gave you up. I know who they are. But I also know who I am now. I'm not that scared baby anymore. I'm not even that broken 12-year-old. I'm okay. And you might need backup. I almost smiled. Backup, moral support, whatever you want to call it. I'm coming. They can't know who you are. Not yet. Not until I figure out what they really want. Ellen nodded. So I'm just your adopted daughter from the UK. Which is true. Which is true. she agreed. When do we leave? I looked at the email again, at Christopher's words about mistakes and forgiveness and this grandson I'd never met. Soon, I signed. Let me respond first. Set something up. Over the next week, I exchanged emails with Christopher. Arranged to come to Connecticut. Told him I'd be staying at my estate there. He offered to have us stay with them. I declined, told him I was bringing my adopted daughter. He said that was fine, said he looked forward to meeting her. I didn't tell him anything else. Ellen and I packed our bags. She was calmer about it than I was. The night before our flight, we double-checked everything. Passports, documents, phone chargers. Ellen looked at me across the suitcases. Signed. Are you scared? Terrified. I signed back. She smiled. Signed. We've got this, Mom. Mom. She'd started calling me that over a year ago. Every time it made my chest tight. The next morning, we flew out of Heathrow. Ellen slept on the plane. I watched clouds and thought about what was waiting in Connecticut, about Christopher and Vanessa and this grandson I'd never met. About Ellen sitting next to me, strong and whole, heading back to face the people who'd decided she wasn't worth keeping. The plane landed at JFK 7 hours later. We cleared Cutthroat.